Hey everyone, I know that this video looks crazy long, it really is, but go ahead, grab a snack. I hope you jump in and enjoy this. Today, as we're recording this, Grand Archive revealed some crazy information about Set 2 Fractured Crown. We have a bunch of card spoilers to go over. We have a bunch of awesome changes happening coming in with Set 2 that's responding to player feedback and doing a ton of stuff that players want to see happen. So if you are interested in hearing our team's thoughts on Grand Archive Set 2 and all of these card spoilers and our speculation and everything, like I said, grab a snack, grab a drink, jump on in. We're going to jump into that right now. What's up, everyone? It's Dan with Maindeck, and I am back bringing you a video, this time with a bunch of our friends here. As you can see on the screen, I'm joined by Jordan.
Hey, everyone.
We got Mike.
Hey, everyone.
And Mitch is in the house.
How's it going?
We are here because today there was a fantastically incredible article posted on the Grand Archive website. Today when we're recording this, I think this will be going up the day afterwards, covering Set 2 Fractured Crown, product information, new spoilers, so much stuff that we had to talk about. And I thought I could do something myself, but why do that when I have all these other creators here who are super excited for Grand Archive? And you guys got to get to know them because they're going to be posting some Grand Archive content very soon. So yeah, I mean, everyone here is super pumped, guys. What was your reaction to the first stuff you saw in this article today?
First up, great. I loved it.
Mike's salty.
Looks amazing.
Yes.
Oh, it is incredible, isn't it? I know, Jordan, you've been keeping yourself a little unspoiled here, I think, right?
Yeah. I have an idea of some of the information in it, but for the most of the spoils and stuff, I haven't even looked at it yet. I was waiting.
Yes, that's
interesting cards.
Definitely.
Very interesting cards.
I think the fractals are my favorite thing, but we'll get into those later.
Yes. Oh man, there's so many cool things here. So, all right. So just so you guys know, this is how we're going to be doing this. As you can see, I already have I have the first card on the screen, which is Song of Frost. We're going to be going in just kind of the order the article has, talking about these cards. There's a lot of product information as well that we'll probably be sprinkling in as we go, which is at the bottom of the article. But if you want to follow along with us as we're talking about this, the link to this article is in the description of the video. So hop down there, click on that, check out all the stuff for yourself. But if you are here, you're going to be listening just to our thoughts, our opinions, our first takes on all these cards, which I have learned my first takes to cards are usually pretty wrong. So get ready for that. But at least I have these guys here to help correct me on some things. So this is going to take a little bit, so let's not delay this anymore. I'd say let's all jump right in, guys. So the very first thing we're talking about is the very first card is Song of Frost. Now, this is a section of the article where they're talking about generic cards that interact with a wide range of strategies. So the thing they're pointing out here is that interaction has not been very cleanly spread out in Set 1. I would say, do you guys think that there's certain elements seem just better at kind of interacting than others that match your experience?
Yeah, I definitely understand that, yeah.
I think in particular, we've seen the combination of Warrior and Wind having just kind of the most ability just to deal with stuff, because a lot of interaction is just damage based right now. And Warrior and Wind just kind of have the right class and element cards to just kind of go, it just doesn't do a lot to me.
Yep.
So
it helps that Warrior has a lot of cards that are class bonus only for them.
Yes, exactly. So what we're seeing here is spreading it out a little bit more. The first card up is Song of Frost, which is a 2-cost fast spell. Not spell, sorry, this is a skill. That's going to be an important distinction as we get deeper into this, to remember. You got to look at this type line and know when it's a skill and when it's a spell. Okay.
Very important.
So Song of Frost is a Tamer skill melody. I love melodies, but I love when we get the harmonies and melodies in there. With class bonus, you may banish a card with floating memory from your graveyard rather than pay this card's reserve cost. So a nice little boon for Water Tamer to be able to do that, but the main effect of the card is not locked behind the class bonus. The main effect of the card is if a unit is attacking, end the combat phase. So just another way to blank an attack. More of that kind of damage mitigation, but only for attacking. What did you guys think about Song of Frost?
I like it. Kind of like like you said, it's another way to negate an attack. It's just another fast, fast card to use, and just another way to blank out an ally from attacking, or not even an ally. You're a champion attacking.
Right. This can blank cleave attacks. Importantly, it's if a unit's attacking. So it's like your Lorraine. I think one thing you can see with Tamer is Tamer really wants to build a board early, and if your opponent's playing Lorraine, letting them just go to level 2 and hurricane sweep your board away and draw 1 million cards, which is something we'll talk about in a little bit too, effects that draw 1 million cards. Mike. But, playing into that will just kind of give your opponent the game. So this in particular in Water Tamer, I think is going to be a very clutch way for them to interact with that, where they can build that board out. And then they don't even have to keep cards in hand going into the turn. If like maybe their opponent springs a surprise dungeon guide into level 2, into Hurricane Sweep or something, and they weren't ready for it, as long as you keep a floating memory card in your graveyard, which you're trying to do pretty actively right now also, then you can use this from your hand for free and go, actually, not only do you not get to cleave my board, you're not going to draw any cards with Lorraine this turn unless you have a way to wake her up too. So
yeah, I'm always a fan of good, just generic interaction to make games more of a back and forth than like a solitaire kind of game state.
Yeah, and the one thing, like, this won't do a lot against the Rye type decks where they don't attack at all.
Oh, no, not at all.
But as the nice thing about Grand Archive is you pop it down into your memory, you play something later, banish it, boom, you're done. So
you can still do good against Rye though. Arcane Elemental. So
some Rye builds
can do
it. And Conduit. Yeah.
I'm assuming that this also triggers before any on-hit effects would occur too. So if they have something with a nasty on-hit, you can just be like, nah, you're not doing that anymore.
They never hit,
yes.
So yes.
On attack will still happen, but on hit will not if you use this. Yeah, so cool card. I like it. It's, this is just a common. It's not like the most mind-blowing card, but that class bonus to be able to play for free for Tamer, I think is a pretty nice boon. And I think the fact that it's a melody can be actually really cool too. I want to point out one more thing about this that I just thought of. So the effect actually doesn't target units at all. Okay. So that means that if you are playing Tamer and all you're trying to do is activate a harmony on your turn, you can actually still play this, including by banishing a floating memory card, just to have played a melody that turn. So you can harmonize with it with a harmony.
That's true. I didn't think about that interaction.
So interesting little interaction to think about there too. All right. Let's move on to our next card. That's going to be Scavenging Raccoon.
Oh, yeah.
Adorable. Love it.
I love this artwork where he's got a little monocle on for some reason and a little like pickaxe.
I have to get this as a foil.
Yes, we need
better.
this.
I hope it has a CSR, and then I need it.
Oh man, if this had a
promo.
CSR. Yeah, well, we do actually have a promo art that we got on the Discord that still showed earlier, so we're going to show that in just a second, but this is the base version of the set. Scavenging Raccoon is a 2-cost ally Tamer animal raccoon. I think you'll see some Tamer cards here too. Tamer is the one that really feels like it needs just a little bit more to come together. As someone who's been playing a bit of Tamer, trying to make it work, it feels like it's missing some glue cards. It's got too many kind of disparate elements that you're trying to string together, and if you don't draw the right amount of everything and get a little lucky, you kind of have trouble. So I'm going to first of all point out that I've been looking for cheaper animals to play. So just straight up, like I saw this and I was like, yep, that's going in the Tamer deck. Like absolutely just need cheap animals. And this is a pretty cool effect. It's just a 1/1, but it has on enter, banish up to 2 target cards from a single graveyard. So I want to quick shout out to my Panini DBZ players out there. If you played that game, you know the Dev Blow life. Yeah.
Blow.
In Grand Archive, it turns out banishing cards from graveyards feels just as important as it did in DBZ, if not more.
Get rid of that floating memory. God.
I mean, that's the big thing, right? The first thing you think of is, okay, so I'm gonna ace their floating memory, force them to banish cards of their hand, force them to keep their hand at a smaller size. I mean, that's obviously really good. The other thing you want to think about with this is there are certain strategies, especially fire decks right now, that are using fire in their graveyard, and this will make their Erupting Rhapsody do way less damage. It'll turn off it's oh man, I just totally blanked the double damage fire attack. Rending Flames, thank you. Rending Flames. It can make that turned off too for a little bit, make them have to work harder for it.
also does double duty against the water with the Mistborn Cutthroat.
Yeah, if they're playing the casino game, the gambling on Mistborn Cutthroats,
Who
trying
doesn't
to
love
get
to
those
gamble?
up. I mean, I love
And
to.
if I recall, even because it says a single graveyard, that means you could banish 2 cards from your graveyard. My understanding. So with Rydex, if for whatever reason you have arcane elements in your discard,
Yeah, and you're playing
Ooh,
Stormseeker.
a little bit of
Yes.
tech from Mike. I like that. That's interesting. Yeah. Just banish. You can banish some arcane cards that you played or something just to up your level a little bit more if you're playing the Rye that levels on that. Hey, that's tricky.
there you
One
go.
thing-
I always
That's
have
what
such a
that's what
hard
I'm using
time
it
making
for.
room in Rydex.
I know. Yep.
I
It can
love
be-
Rye. I love Rye. Like by far, my love Rye.
But I mean, I think this card is going to already make its value back as a tech piece. And then the fact that it has that interaction will, I think, just, it can give you a little bit more room for it. One thing you have to be aware of, though, when you don't actually want to banish your own cards, if your opponent doesn't currently have a graveyard, you will.
It says banish up to 2, so you can pick 0.
Oh, you can pick 0.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's-
No, you're totally right. Yep, there's an up to there. Yeah, there we go. Good
Yep.
catch. Good catch.
They
okay.
they worded it right. They did a good job.
Yes, they got it.
No feels bad.
Flavor text here. Looters have conditioned these diligent creatures to scavenge the battlefield for any source of glint or glitter in exchange for a treat. It's cute. I like
God,
that.
this card
like
is
it.
10 out of 10.
10 out of 10 card.
Give you all the foils.
Let's look at the promo version quick here. It's a little bit of a different card size. Sorry, it's a little cut off, but you're just gonna have to deal with it. It's just cut off on the border for you guys, but there's a really cool. It's one of these, they're like the full art promos that they're doing. We don't know how this is going to be given out. Same card, but different flavor text on here too. It says, with a nose for trash and an eye for treasure, these relentless scavengers will stop at nothing to fill their hoards with trinkets and baubles.
I want 4 of these.
I know.
I want 4 of these.
These are so good.
I just
So yeah,
want
there's the
little pickaxe.
They already know it's going to be a good card, so they made a promo of it. Yeah, he doesn't have the pickaxe in this one. That's too bad. I don't know. Maybe
he
I kind
has
of
the
like this
crystal.
little, but I like this pickaxe guy. He's
I'll have
sweet.
to look at the art afterwards because it's not in the article.
Yeah, I sent it to you guys on the Discord to check out too. But all right, let's move on. We got lots to talk about. Next card is okay. So I'm not sure. Do you say this as Verican or Verucan? Something. It's like
I would
Verucan.
say Verucan.
Verucan. How do you guys say the domain?
This is supposed to be reference to like the
Varrock.
the terrain, right?
Yeah, the domain Varrock. I called it Varrock. Do you guys call it Varuk?
I don't remember how it's spelled, but yeah,
Nobody
I would go
knows.
with the Varuk.
Okay,
I
I
would-
don't.
I
Verucan
feel like
Acolyte.
Verucan is more because it's closer to like volcano or like
Or Varic,
it's supposed to
Verican,
be like a volcano city.
Verican. Okay, whatever. It's the Sacolite, and it is a 3-cost ally mage human with 0 attack and 1 health. It has on enter, destroy target regalia with memory cost 0. Level 3+, Verican Acolyte gets +3 attack. This card is dope. This card is,
Insane.
Yes,
I think this
Some-
card is really sick, uncommon.
Yeah.
some extra hate for the 0 cost regalia is always lovely to see.
So fire needs to deal with lantern. That's the big thing that we're seeing with Ultra Edition. This deals
Yeah,
with
that-
lantern.
Yeah.
That lantern.
The lantern that turns all your cards in your graveyard into norm elements, which turns off your rending flames and your erupting rhapsodies. So this is a very very potent
most-
card because. So go
I
ahead.
was gonna say, and in most cases, this is literally just a better Spurn to Ash because a vast majority of the regalias, especially in the early game, are 0 cost anyway.
Yeah.
Now
And
that's
it's
something.
just Spurn to Ash, but also a creature at the end of the day.
I wonder, see, we're going to have some more regalia coming in, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So that kind of thing is the kind of thing that can change a little bit, right? And can give Spurn to Ash extra value if the meta sort of shifts around it. If you just can't land any 0s because there's acolytes running everywhere, you're going to start losing a card from your hand to play some of the ones. Because there's a number of art regalia that are like, it's like a 0 cost version, but it costs 1 more and it does a little something extra. So it'd be pretty easy to tweak your material deck to be like, you know what, if you're playing the Acolyte, I'm just going to blanket. It just doesn't do anything anymore.
Yeah.
Against
I know there's a 1 cost regalia Mike wishes would hit.
Yeah. Yes, we'll talk about it. We'll keep teasing it. We'll get there.
And once you're
I-
level 3,
We'll get
it's just
ready.
a better Blitz Mage.
Yeah, level 3, it's a better Blitz Mage. That's absolutely
It is
true.
a Blitz Mage
Yeah.
with upside.
There is nothing class bonus on this either. So
No.
I feel like, why wouldn't you run this? I mean, it's just, at least right now, I mean, with all the zero cost regalia items.
I mean, so again, it depends upon like if you don't care about regalia, like if you're playing like fire or rain, like you just don't care about it. This is
you're not playing
worth it
Rending
versus some
Flames.
other lower cost.
If you're playing Rending Flames, you care about it in Fire Lorraine.
Yes.
But yeah, I mean, there's decks that like also, I think we're going to see also the rise of more decks that don't care about level 3. That's something they talk about in the article.
Yeah.
Is trying to make it so decks that don't go to level 3 are a little more powerful. And there are currently some fringe strategies using lineage break champions level 2, like Alan and Merlin and stuff. More on Merlin soon, but. I think it'll be really nice to see some more strategies that revolve around operating at those levels. And in those decks, then of course you'd be like, well, I'll probably just play Spurn Dash. That's more flexible than a 0-1.
I'm excited about that.
Yes. Okay, so let's move on here. The next thing we're going to be talking about is that I was just talking about a little bit, but slowing down advanced elements is what they're saying. They want it to make it in set 2 so that if you get to level 3, you don't win the game quite as fast. There's a little bit more time that you have to spend in there. This is where Mike's going to start getting mad because things have to be a little more fair. And like I said, also just trying to make it so that getting to level 3 isn't quite as advantageous in comparison to other strategies. So the first thing we're looking at is Tithe Proclamation. As soon as I get a foil of this, I'm sending it to Mike.
No.
Gotta make sure you sign it too, right on that.
Oh yeah. I'm gonna get the devs to sign it and give it to Mike so he'd feel bad getting rid of it.
This card,
every deck you play and play it first turn against Mike.
I'll get an artist proof of
it.
Artist proof. Yes, there we go.
So Tithe Proclamation is a 1 memory cost regalia item cleric scripture with on enter draw a card. And players can't draw more than 3 cards each turn unless it's their first turn of the game.
Yeah.
So what this is doing is first of all, keep in mind the card you draw for turn counts towards one of the 3. This is going to make it so a number of strategies that involve drawing a lot of cards in a single turn are not going to be able to operate quite as efficiently.
Ryan Lorraine there.
No,
Yes.
you want to know why this card, like, because I know we kind of discussed it a little earlier, like, I don't know if this card, but okay, I run Winrai, and with Winrai, I want to get to level 3 as quickly as possible. And then what I do is I use cards like Careful Study and Peer in the Mana to essentially give myself a lot of, why can't I think right now, those,
Enlightenment tokens.
Yeah, enlightenment. There we go. Enlightenment tokens to essentially draw a lot of cards. And right now, we'll see what comes out. Wind, I think, has one answer where I can suppress the regalia item, but that's pretty much it. And it's gonna this card just basically says you're not drawing a bunch of cards, and I don't like that.
So at least with the tokens, you can draw them on your opponent's turn too.
Exactly.
So they'll slow you down.
Yeah.
So one thing you want to think about, I wanted to bring that up very first thing, because anything you're doing with enlightened counters, you can freely use up to 9 counters, draw 3 cards on your opponent's next turn, unless you have other things that are going to draw cards during there. It's not going to impact you. Like, it's not like it's going to completely make it so you just can't use your counters. It is going to mean that those turns are not going to be as explosive for you if this is in play, if you haven't found a way to deal with it.
It's going to slow the game down.
The card, as a Rye player, the card you want to be thinking about with that you're worried about this is Arcane Disposition. If you're an Arcane Disposition Rye deck, that's just going to suck, because it already screws up Arcane Disposition, where you'd only draw 2 cards off of it, and that's assuming you didn't draw anything else that turn. And then Arcane Disposition is going to make you discard your hand at the end of turn anyway. So it's just going to make it clunkier. It's just you're not going to, because what you're trying to do with Disposition obviously is draw a bunch of cards, then play a whole bunch of stuff, and then keep doing that so you end the turn with no cards in hand and you discard nothing.
And this doesn't, now the one thing, I don't know, I got to read into it. Maybe I'm right. This doesn't affect if I put cards from my memory into my hand, does it?
No.
Okay.
No, that is not being considered draw.
So Reckless Conversion will still work just fine.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Still though, I just don't like this card. It does slow down at least Winrai, and I'm sure there's other strategies that this card slows
It
down.
slows down every ride deck. I think
Yeah.
there's
Yep,
not a
it'll-
ride deck out there that doesn't want to draw a lot of cards.
Yeah.
Other interactions it'll have are like Lorraine level 2, cleaving against a big board, won't get to draw as many. It's like a pretty minor interaction because at the point where you're drawing like 2 cards off of Lorraine, you're like, hell yeah, like this is sick.
It'll affect fire as a lot because there's a lot of draw discard effects or sacrifice a dude to draw 2 cards. Well, now
Cremation ritual, yep.
It's going to affect the wind Lorraine that tries to rush 3, and then there's like Ghost of Pendragon and that kind of stuff.
Yes, yeah.
When I play that deck, I usually like sometimes 5-6 cards in a turn.
Yeah, at least this affects both players. So at least the card affects both players. So
The big
I
thing,
do love that it's symmetrical.
yes. The big thing you don't want to do is activate an Orb of Regret after this comes into play.
Oh,
Talk about
just-
regret.
That would be a real regret. You'll shuffle 3 cards in and draw 2.
So, I guess I have a quick question about timing window. So let's say they have the orb on the field, right? And you are going to materialize this. Do they have to respond with the orb before you materialize it all? Or is there a window where you would materialize this, they can respond with the orb?
I believe you have a window to respond to the materialization. I'm not 100% sure. I always have to double check that. But I believe you have a window to respond when they declare what they're materializing. I'm sure someone will correct in the comments if
Somebody
if
down
I'm
below,
wrong.
just let us know, because
That's
I'm
fine.
not quite sure on the interaction in this particular case.
That kind of stuff I like. I've read it a million times, and I always just still have to go back and be like, I have to make sure I know when all these windows are. So, Tithe Proclamation. I think like the thing to keep in mind here is that there's a goal they're trying to achieve, and that goal might not be, Mike, what you want to happen, right? But they're what they're trying to do is take an active role in shaping the metagame a little bit to try and balance decks against each other a little better. There's also a number of cards we haven't seen yet. So, Mike, you're like worried about Windrack. Is like, how do I deal with this? Well, we haven't seen everything, right? So there's still maybe other interaction that they're putting. You can tell by the article that they're interested in putting interaction in a more generic sense.
for sure.
So I think this is I actually like this. It's a nice kind of floodgate style card without being oppressive. It could have easily said like your opponent can't draw cards or whatever. And like,
my thing is it does affect both players. So
Right,
I mean,
those are the kind of effects that I
I.
really hate, like the non-symmetrical tax effects. Like,
yeah, no fun to play against.
Yeah, but with it affecting both players, I'm okay with it. But it is kind of one of those cards I'm like, oh, geez, I'm gonna have to get ready for. So
I'm definitely very happy about it too, because one of my only like minor complaints about Grand Archive as a whole is how explosive almost every game that I've watched played or personally have played ends. It's always like a little bit to nothing is happening, little bit to nothing is happening. One person hits 3, game ends, and it's like there's so many times where it's like little to nothing is happening, and then turn 3 or 4, someone dungeon guides to level 3, plays like 4 cards, and the game is over. And like being able to slow that down or make it so they can't just blow up immediately upon hitting 3 makes me feel like it'll just be healthier for the game overall.
Yeah,
I still want those to be possible, but I don't want that to be the only way most games end.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to say. It's I totally agree with you, but the difficult tightrope to walk is just keeping it balanced, right? So that everything like that is kind of on the table and relatively balanced against each other. One thing I just want to say that I really appreciate actually just about this whole idea of slowing down the game is that a lot of TCGs will pretty quickly move into a power creep territory where the game's first couple of sets will be like, oh yeah, this game has a great pace to it. And then a few sets later, it's like every deck is like, can you win on turn 2? What are you doing then? Like, it's a bad deck. And I really appreciate the sort of the mindfulness that they have about that and actively going like, we're going to put in cards to actually just keep the game going slower because we find it's more fun that way for people to play. So it's an exciting card to see, I think. So Mitch, you were talking about one-sided taxation effects, and the next card we're going to talk about is
this card. I know of. I heard of this one.
Dawn of Ashes.
It affects
Well, it does, but it's the kind where you can build around it to affect one player more than another.
Yep.
So,
yeah.
Dawn of Ashes is okay. So I'm going to start by saying I have no idea if this card is going to see any play at all.
It's going to see play.
I think this will
really
play.
Yeah, okay. All right.
It's going directly into my deck.
It looks really cool. Dawn of Ashes is a 3-cost unique domain cleric cataclysm, which is a great subtype. With upkeep at the beginning of your recollection phase, reveal a card at random from your memory. If that card is not Norm element, sacrifice Dawn of Ashes. And non-norm element cards, kind of a tongue twister, cost 1 more to activate. So we're directly taxing everything that has an element other than Norm. So like the very first thing I thought of course, was like Lost Spirit deck.
Yeah, Lost Spirit.
You're making Norm cards good. I love that.
We can use that as set promo somewhere.
I love it.
Yeah. So I mean, okay. First of all, let's just start by talking about Lost Spirit, because I think this card's playable outside of Lost Spirit, and I think that's probably like the most likely case because a Lost Spirit deck takes a massive disadvantage in not having an element or an advanced element. Well, you can have an advanced element, but if you're playing this, I don't know, it'll depend on what you're trying to do, right? Yeah, no. You can still have an advanced element, but you don't have a base element, and norm element cards are simply less efficient than element cards. They are. I mean, they're costed more. Look at any, like, especially look at Tamer. Look at any Tamer animals versus other.
Yeah.
So this is a card. A big what if on this is like what else is in the set. You know, if there's a few other things that are like really empowering, like Lost Spirit decks, then we have a great little taxation deck that like has to take the hit of not playing element cards. Basically, what you're saying in this proposition is all my stuff is going to cost more for its effect, and all your stuff is now going to cost more for its effect also, right? Because like I'm playing norm element cards, which are less efficient. Now all your stuff's less efficient too. And I think that's interesting. It's kind of like taking you down with me, sort of.
Yeah, like you said, I think if this sees play, it'll probably be in an element deck. Yeah. Because again, you only got 4 of this in your deck. And if you do have 4 of it, it's a 4 unique. So it's... Yeah. And you're not guaranteed to find it. And if you don't find it, then you're just playing an all-norm deck with no downside for your opponent.
I'll tell you,
you're not considering, though, is there's a Regalia that this basically just does the same thing as the Regalia if you play it. Because remember, it checks your memory at the beginning of your turn. So your opponent's going to have at least 1 turn where everything costs 1 more. And there's the Assassin Smoke Bomb that on their turn makes their stuff cost 1 more for the whole turn. So this is kind of like a non-Regalia version of that as well, that you can play in non-normal only decks because you're planning on having something in the memory that might get chosen and then it gets discarded. But for that 1 turn, you're basically just like telling your opponent, all right, I'm not doing a whole lot, but your turn is going to cost more.
Their turn is, if everything costs 2 more on your turn, anything good that you want to activate, that's going to be a pretty bad turn.
Yeah, and if you're playing an assassin and you have the Regalia, you can be like Regalia, and then at the end of your turn, after you do all your attacks, you be like, oh, and by the way, domain, your stuff costs 1 more. At the start of your turn, I'm going to draw a card, and your stuff costs another more to do. And then
I'm not dying this turn.
Completely clamp down on them.
Yeah, and keep in mind, if they're making this card, I have a feeling that normal cards are going to get a boost in this set. I feel like if they're making this and that's the direction they're going to go, normal cards are getting a boost.
See, I think the opposite. I think the fact that they're making this means they probably won't already buff normal cards even more, because then it's just going to pump too much into like they're going to shoehorn this into like the normal strategy. I think if you keep it around the same power level, it would make sense.
I can see, I guess I can see either way, but I can see just like a few specific cards that are like this, where it's just like, if you only have normal things going on, there's a little bonus.
They're specific to that kind of thing, sure.
Some bones to throw basically to Lost Spirit, because I think like Lost Spirit initially was designed just as like this is what you demo with because we don't want to overcomplicate things. But then there was just a lot of people being like, well, you should make it do something. You should make it cool. I want to play Lost Spirit decks. And I would not be surprised if they're just trying to go, okay, fine, here you guys go. Like have some Lost Spirit decks. You can play them now.
I mean, they could just make the great return of Lost Spirit started with 1 more card than the other spirits.
Yeah. I think that wasn't even intentional though. That was just because they were printing them for the demo decks and they had already chosen to shift everything up to 7 cards.
Oh,
And so that one was the first to go to print, so it got shown as 7 first.
All right.
I just thought of something. I want to point out something. So if you're playing Xander and you're playing the level 3 that has reveal your memory each turn, you certainly don't have to play any of those Luxem cards that you're revealing just to like Lightweaver's Assault your opponent out of the game. And you can just like play Lost Spirit Xander, tax them into Oblivion, and then you get to level 3 and you go, I'm just going to sit here and it costs you a lot to play the game and I'm just going to reveal cards until I win.
That seems really good. Seems annoying, actually.
Keep gaining health and then like I don't know. I think there's I think there's something potentially cute there, at least. I don't know if it's good, but it's interesting.
It's definitely an idea.
It's an idea we have. Okay, so do you guys have anything else to say? It's a wacky card, but we can move on though.
No,
I like
I'm
the
good
art on it, by the way. And
Art
I
is
hope
super
there's
cool.
A really nice full art of it at some
Yeah.
point.
This is
Well,
the full
full art, right?
Yep.
No,
This card.
Oh, it is a borderless. I didn't notice that.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's just like the
I wanted to see this in a foil.
Yes, just like the
That's
first
gorgeous.
edition domains, it's got a full art treatment on it. Okay, moving on then.
I
to,
love this next card.
Yeah,
Yes.
me too. I like this.
Let's talk about design space, huh? Innervate
Let's talk about
Agility.
design space.
This is a 2-cost action mage spell reaction. It's a spell that doesn't really matter too much for this one, but it might matter at some point. With it's fast speed, so you're going to want to activate it at fast speed anyway. As an additional cost to activate this card, de-level your champion and recover 5. To de-level your champion, return the top card of its lineage to your material deck. So now
like it.
you can de-level as a cost. You recover 5, which is very important there, so that you don't die when you use this.
Because you're losing your max health, so yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you got to have that recover 5 on there. And then the effect is units you control gain your choice of stealth or spell shroud until end of turn, which again, you can use as a reaction.
Units.
Units.
Like, I will gain stealth. I'll
Yes.
gain spell shroud.
Yes. Yeah. Very.
Yeah, that's why I like it. There's so much potential with this card.
Also,
Like-
you can
The
reuse
reason
the
why-
on-enter effects of your champions. So, like, if you're Lorraine 2, go back to 1. Up
This-
to next turn.
Yes. You have to be careful. I want to be really careful about the way that's worded for the audience, just to make sure, because some people aren't as intimately aware. So if you're Lorraine level 3 and you de-level to 2, you do not get the on-enter effect of the level 2. You're not. It's not entering. It's just it was there. If you, as far as I understand, that I mean, like again, like we don't have like the full rulings for everything. That is my understanding of what's happening. That could be
It never left the playing field.
right. But then yes, when you say if you go to like 2 down to 1 and then back to 2 again, then you get to reuse Lorraine's dope level 2 effect. A lot of people think Lorraine level 2 is the strongest level 2 in the game. It is certainly a potent one. And I can definitely see, like, did you think Wind Lorraine needed more tools? Because this does not have class bonus.
You know what I'm excited about this card?
What?
Being immortal with Xander level 3. You
Yeah.
de-level, gain
yes.
stealth, re-level, gain stealth and spell shield, de-level,
Huh.
heal, become immune to damage, re-level, become immune to damage.
I am
You
also
have
a
to
fan
be
of
able to
that.
draw enough cards to fuel the 3 cost every turn, but yes.
I mean,
Whatever.
if you have a lot of floating memory, that won't matter.
The concept's hilarious and I love it. So
I do love it. I also the fact like if you're playing a deck that has a lineage break and a regular lineage, you can de-level from your lineage break back to normal and then go up the normal path.
ooh, new strat unlocked. Yeah, this is cool. And if you haven't taken a lot of damage, if you've only taken some plinks, like this does just straight like this is like a heal 5 also potentially.
Yeah,
So-
early game potential. This is really good. Late game potential. And I believe, I mean, look, it's a fast cast, isn't it?
It sure
Yeah,
is.
so-
Yeah. If it wasn't
so
fast, it would be a lot
fast,
worse.
so-
Ugh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, you go against, Rydeck or any other, like they do just play this and go.
As soon as they go to Arcane Blast you, you're like, actually, no.
Actually, no. I think by this turn.
Yep.
Lorraine Spirit Ruler, who gets to get a free regalia when she levels to 3. So bouncing between 3 and 2 there could work a little bit to your advantage also. There's some, I mean, there are some interactions for sure. It's a very cool card. And I just love to see that this is a design space too. One important thing to note, if you are level 1, do not activate this card. Don't do it.
Oh,
or not
no.
level, sorry, not level 1.
Say-
I mean, sorry, level 0. If you're level 0.
And I was like, wait a minute, I plan on doing this.
My bad. I misspoke.
Okay.
I misspoke. If you're level 0, do not activate this card.
Okay.
Wait, no,
Hear me out, Dan. I don't think you can de-level here because it says the top of its lineage, and the spirits have no lineage, right?
No, your lineage is your stack of character cards. Is your stack your stack of.
Would you actually? I mean, I'm assuming that if it is, they'll change the rules for it. But
hey, if I want to lose the game, that's how I lose the game.
Not having a champion.
Okay. So the important thing about this is that, if you were to be able to get rid of your 0 and not lose the game, you could replay a 0 and draw 7 cards, right?
Yeah.
Which is
That
not
would be
something
so stupid.
It's not something they're enabling.
You draw like what, 7, 14, 21 cards in the first.
Yeah, no. That's not going to be a thing. Okay, so
and then you can't be a tit either. It's like, you can't touch me.
There's 2 possible scenarios. 1, you lose the game, or 2, there's a rule that says just you can't fulfill this cost, so you can't play the card when you're at level 0. It's one of the 2 things. It's not going to be you can get rid of 0 and you're I'll just play it again.
Probably for the health of the game, it's probably the second one. But I would love the first one.
But keep in mind, and we kind of went, and I don't think they changed the rules on this. We went over this in the podcast. We had another podcast where we went over this, where they left it open where you can have multiple champions on.
Correct. Yes.
So
we still don't know what that means in the context here, but I mean, for now, right, we're just talking about whether or not you can have no level 0 and play past your, the first moment of your first turn.
Because they could have like a fire spirit and a wind spirit in your deck.
Card, actually, the more I think about it.
What'd you say?
I want to know the best tech for this card.
Yeah.
Trisket. She doesn't have anything to remove, so the do what you can rule apply. It doesn't say D-level to recover 5. It just says D-level and recover 5. So you can't D-level because you're Trisket, and you just recover 5 for 2 cost.
How does it go Trisket? I have no idea.
Because Trisket, you banish your current champion, and Trisket becomes your champion. So she's just a stack of 1 card that does not have a lineage.
We're going to need some clarification on that.
Yeah, I would not bank on anything with Trisket right now until they've released a ruling about how this interacts.
It takes so long to get it to work.
Okay, I don't know. I don't have a dog in that race, but yeah, I guess keep your eyes peeled for whatever they announce to clarify how it works with Trisket, because I am not certain, but that's an interesting thing to think about also. All right, let's move on here.
My favorite card in this set is definitely that card so far.
Yeah, it's very cool, very cool. Next card we're looking at. So hand size user experience is what they're talking about in this part of the article, which is there's making a very good point here about how in Grand Archive, there's a lot of zones you're manipulating all the time. Your hand, your memory, you're recollecting cards, you're looking through your material deck, you're doing all sorts of stuff all the time. When you have a big hand, it's kind of clumsy and cumbersome. So one thing I really like about this is rather than just saying, okay, well, we're putting in a hand size or, boom, like you just artificially like making that not a big problem. They're just going to put in some cards that sort of tweak people a little bit towards having smaller hand sizes, which is, I think, a really cool thing to do.
For sure.
The first thing we're looking at is Fast Cure. I'm kind of into this card, actually. I think this card's pretty sweet. This is a 2-cost norm action cleric spell. It is fast. A lot of fast spells here. I love fast spells. Give me the fast spells.
Oh, yeah. Give me that fast stuff.
The card is sick.
Yes. Oh, yeah. I forgot Jordan hasn't seen these.
It's his first time seeing these. God, yeah.
And it's normal element.
Yes.
Yep.
So,
this card is sick.
So influence is the new keyword here. If target opponent's influence is greater than yours, recover 4, which is heal 4 health.
Yeah.
A player's influence is equal to the total amount of cards in their hand and memory. Basically, all the cards you have available to sort of work with during your turn, your hand and memory. So this is going to kind of make these kinds of cards are supposed to make your opponent want to try and keep a smaller hand size, and you try to keep a smaller hand size. You want to stay under them, and they're going to be like, well, I don't want them to get big advantages from influence. So if they're playing those cards.
Yeah, I don't know if, like, I mean, we'd have to definitely see more cards. I don't know if that's going to be where people are going to play around that.
Yeah.
But this is a really solid card. Like, I'm all about recovery.
And
I remember, like, I was like, oh, man, I really wish, you know, wind or like there were just some normal cards that allowed recovery, and now we're starting to see it. And I like this card. I think it's a real solid card.
The important thing, it has the 2 words on it: floating memory.
Yes, floating memory. The biggest words on this card.
So yeah, okay. So first of all, Mike, yeah, I totally agree, and we're seeing cleric cards more now, which is like set 2 is definitely going to start bridging the gap towards set 3, which is when we expect to see cleric, guardian, and ranger joining the game. So getting to see a little bit more cleric stuff is going to be really nice, because I think that'll introduce some more of that interaction outside of just like specific elements that can do this kind of thing. The floating memory, anytime it's on a card that I don't have to have a target for to just get it put into my graveyard if I want it there. And better yet, it actually does something useful. You know, it's important. I want it to do something. I'm really into that.
Yeah.
The fact that it's fast speed, I think, is so cool here, because you are just going to get to play out your turn, pass the opponent, keep interaction open. You can have fast cure and another interaction card in your hand. This is kind of like card gaming 101. If you played competitive Magic or whatever, you're familiar with this concept. Then you respond to whatever your opponent's doing. If they don't do anything that you need to use your other good cards on, end of turn, you go, or you just time this to try and watch during their turn. You can wait like during their recollection step right after it doesn't matter. It influences both, but I'm thinking as I talk here. But if they use an effect to draw a bunch of cards before they play something else, maybe you can try and catch them at a good point where you can activate this before they get more things. But the thing I want to talk about with influence that's really important is that influence does not count your cards you have in play, right? So decks that are being a little more aggressive are going to be able to play a bunch of allies out, dish out damage with them, and kind of naturally keep a lower influence than the opponent. So it's not necessarily just about like, if it's like, I think you could look at influence and be like, well, obviously, I just want to draw cards. I'd rather draw cards than get a minor heal effect or whatever in the middle of the game. But it's not always about, am I drawing enough cards? It can be about, you can play fast cure in a deck that's just trying to play a bunch of things down, but you're trying to maybe get an edge in an aggro matchup, right? Like maybe you side this in when it's an aggro v aggro and you're like, okay, this is actually going to like blunt a turn for them. Give me a floating memory, and I'm just going to make sure I play it right after I play my board out or something. And I think it can be kind of flexible that way. So it's a pretty cool card.
Yeah, and having floating memory on a non-creature is always powerful, because you can cast it and then it immediately goes there. Because the problem I have with my Xander deck is I was real excited about Informed Assassin or Kingdom Informant.
Yeah.
But the problem I have with it is, especially since it has stealth, no one cares to attack it. It only does 1 damage, and then it just sits on the field for the whole game. And I'm like, man, sure wish you were in the garbage can for me to get floating memory from.
That's a good point. I don't think I mentioned that when I was doing the set review either. That stealth and floating memory are actually kind of a nombo. They're not exactly what you want to see.
Attack their creatures with it. Like, hey, do you want to retaliate? No? Okay.
Yeah, if it had one more attack, it'd be okay, because then it's threatening enough to where I'm like, I'm okay if I don't have the floating memory if I'm hitting you for 2 or 3 every turn.
Yeah, threshold's maybe not quite there.
Half the time I'm like, I wish you'd just attack it. Use that charge on that Seer's Sword and hit her, please.
I am not a big fan of this next card, though.
Okay, let's look at the next one, the next influence card. Illuminate Secrets.
So wait, is that Rye in that picture? That's what I'm trying. Is that Rye?
No, I'm assuming that's going to be the cleric.
Is it Xander? Okay.
Wearing a Pope hat.
Because I've seen it was a cleric and mage spell, so that's why I thought.
He's talking about you guys are talking about different cards.
Jordan. Well, this is an assassin mage spell, not cleric mage.
I don't know what you're talking about, Mike. You're making up cards right now. We're talking about Illuminate Secrets.
Yeah. It's an assassin and mage spell.
Yeah, but that's a picture of Xander wearing a Xander outfit.
Oh, okay. I thought that might have been Rye. Okay, never mind.
Nope. This is a 2-cost
Rye doesn't look that cool.
A 2-cost Luxem action, fast action assassin mage spell with deal an amount of damage to target unit equal to its owner's influence minus your influence. So, Mitch, why don't you lead it? Mitch is not a fan. Why does Mitch hate this card?
So I mean, the biggest thing is like, if you're down that much influence, where this is gonna do a significant amount of damage, like I'm trying to have this be like, I would say you want this to be at least 2 or 3, right? That's where you feel good. Anything up that is bonus.
Yep.
The fact that you had to be level 3 to use this means you either lost resources to get there, and if you go into 3, usually you're trying to pop off and like draw more cards, do more stuff with your advanced element. I just feel like the cost for this isn't worth jumping through the hoops to try and get 2 or 3 damage out of it.
Okay.
Here's what I see, which and correct me if I'm wrong. This is a fast spell, which means that you are doing damage to your opponent on their turn. And I don't think there is any card in the game as of now where you can do that.
Is it
No, there
Fireball?
definitely is. There's a bunch of
Fireball's
cards
fast.
Fireball. Okay, never mind then. Okay, Fireball.
Get out of here, Mike.
I was like, I've gotten
Okay.
2 wins off of prepared explosive.
Mike has left the chat.
Okay, I did not know Fireball was fast. I'm a Windrye player.
Yeah,
I'm a
he's
Windrye player.
only Windrise, the only deck.
Like, if this wasn't an advanced element, I could see it, but the fact that this is an advanced element and that's all it's going to do is just...
Okay, Mitch, let me try and give this a little bit of benefit of the doubt here. Okay,
Yeah.
so
Tell me on it.
So I don't know the deck list quite yet, but I do know that as we get more of these advanced element cards, we've already seen interesting builds, especially if you look in the Rye territory of which advanced element cards build out towards kind of which strategies in those decks. Now, I think a lot of Luxem assassin decks so far have been big memory, right? You're playing because you're doing like Light Weaver's Assault. You're doing the thing where you go like Light Weaver's Assault, respond Light Weaver's Assault. So I reveal like 8 cards or whatever.
You want to flip the memory.
Yeah. I think there is a potential for a build here that is using a little card called Korhazi Infiltrator,
I was just going to say that one.
which says when you reveal it from your memory, you get to put it onto the field, which removes it from your influence, adds another damage source, and can operate in a pretty sneaky manner here where I think you can do something like play Illuminate Secrets, respond, play a fast spell to reveal your memory, reveal the infiltrators, pop them out there. Your influence is lower. Then you resolve the top spell. Then you resolve the secrets, and you're doing the damage to things. I think there's some lines there where you're actually not going to be so disappointed in the card.
I also think
That's
that this
fair.
is a, I mean, again, this is very limited experience in my actual play, but Rye's large hand size sometimes is a hard to like overcome thing for Xander players.
Yeah.
And being able to have a card that, since it is fast, like Mike mentioned, when Mike starts popping off on his turn and he's like, I'm going to draw 7 cards. And you're like, I have 2. Cool. How about you take 5 damage on your turn and you're dead now. Good job on drawing
Yeah.
those cards.
Yeah.
I was going to say that next. That would be the best thing is the opponent goes like, okay, boom, 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 draw. Okay, now I'm going to Arcane Blast you. In response, do 11 back to you for free, for 2, whatever.
I guess
It's like-
I can see it's more like a sideboard tech to fight the mages, but I don't
It could
see
be.
like, again, if you're pulling against like other Xanders or other Lorraines, I don't think like the disparity in influence gets too big yet. Again, I could be wrong with the Korhazi deck. I haven't tried a Korhazi deck yet before, so.
now
The
there,
Korhazi dudes or ladies, in addition to being babes, do 3 damage a pop. So if you have like 2 or 3, and then you do 2, 3 or 4 with the light, you're looking at like 13 damage on one like shebang. Plus you have 2 to 3 people on the field, in addition to whatever things you might have.
I want to point out one more thing about this. We're going to talk about it more in a little bit, but there may be some types of cards that allow you to keep your resources up while keeping your influence down. And those could play into the whole strategy here.
I'm assuming as when the set like is fully released, just like with like enlightenment counters or level counters, there's going to be like negative influence counters or something to be like, this turn you have -1 influence or something like that.
Oh yeah, they could totally do stuff like that, or just have regalia that are like your influence is +2 or -2 or whatever.
Yep.
So
That could be fair. It could be fair. I will be happy to be wrong about this card.
yeah, but I mean, I think it's a fair point, a fair stance to take, a cautious stance, right? Like it's the kind of card that can look really good, but then practice it can just be kind of clunky. So
Yeah.
that's an absolutely fair point. I'm curious to see how it pans out. Let's move on. The next thing we're going to talk about is diversifying the material deck, which is all about putting basic element regalia into your material deck to make decks play a little more differently, deck to deck based on what element they're choosing, which they already do in the main deck. But the big thing is a lot of material decks are quite similar, have a lot of similar cards.
Yeah.
And it's nice just to have more variety. So the first card we're looking at is Effigy of Gaia. This is an SR from the set. It is a 0-cost regalia item Tamer Bauble. With class bonus, your champion gets +1 level as long as you control an animal or beast ally. So just straight pointing out that this is Beast Sponder's Ears for wind, right? But just like straight up, it's gonna be better than that. Other than like things that hate on wind regalia or whatever could exist.
I love this card.
And then it has an additional effect. Yes, I agree. Whenever an opponent activates an attack card with cleave, animal and beast allies you control get +2 health until end of turn.
Yo, that's good. That in addition to some other cards.
This was the Tamer card talk about Jordan that's going to help against
Tier 1 Sylvie deck.
Yeah.
Or Alan, I guess. That's
or Alan
on that level 2 lifestyle.
Keeps your beast allies alive. So yeah, definitely a solid card.
With the new beast, I feel like Alan's going to be yesterday's news.
I think
he can't play it.
This is the mono squirrel meta. Get out of here.
Yo, mono squirrel meta.
Now, okay, let's point out a couple things about this. First of all, like I said, I mean, like it's pretty easy if you just want to straight swap Beast Sponder's Ears for this in your deck, you can do that. And if you're playing wind, and I think that's a good idea. If your opponent cleaves you with a if your opponent's also playing Tamer, this is not as good. This is the main thing I want to point out. Because against other Tamer decks, if they're going to play a way to cleave your board, it's going to be Bestial Frenzy, or I guess Artificer's Opus, but like I don't know if people are really playing that yet. But Bestial Frenzy gives your beast cleave, gives your animal or beast cleave. It's not an attack card with cleave. No. It's an ally with cleave. So they're still just going to wipe you out, unfortunately. But same with Artificer's Opus. But otherwise, yes, against Lorraine decks basically is where you're just going to go, okay, or whatever warriors we end up with, or whatever other crazy stuff we end up with. This is just going to stop those hurricane sweeps from murdering your board, stop the tidal sweeps if that becomes a popular thing, and stop the fire one. I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, and that, and it gains you a level. It's easier to play your beast allies. You get your pride a lot easier. So.
Right, like you're already in Tamer, you're already playing Beast Sponder's Ears. I just think that this just kind of like replaces that. Probably.
Yeah. It also opens the option to just have both out and then giving you that extra little level.
Exactly.
Yep, that option is certainly on the table
powered boards at level 2.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
dude. If you're Alan, you already can do that. Alan can already do that. He don't care. Alan just, you have 2 animals and beasts and a Beast Sponder's Ears, and he's level 5. It's done. All right, next one is Wand of Frost. This is a rare 1-cost regalia item, Cleric/Mage Wand. Ooh, we got that Cleric class bonus tech in here. Class bonus on enter, draw a card. Banish Wand of Frost. Target units attacks get -3 damage until end of turn. -3 attack. I was power, whatever the stat is. So nice little tech card here, I think, against certain decks. The Lorraine deck that wants to attack you a whole bunch of times, you can blunt quite a bit with this. What other strategies exist where this can really, because it only targets a single unit, right? So like blanking one, like
Mad Mage, but usually it gets big enough it won't really matter.
Yeah, Conduit probably, but I mean, this could blunt enough, right? Potentially.
It stops Rending Flames a lot.
Ooh, yeah.
That's the big one.
Not at the calculation phase.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's got extra power against Rending Flames.
And
good call.
It completely neuters cleave attacks because it lowers the damage that the cleave is going to do. Most likely to 0 in most cases.
Yep. Good points. Yeah, this is a just solid. It does cost 1. It's one of these regalia that I mean, you're probably not playing this outside of Major Cleric, because paying the 1 for it, I mean, it would have to be really clutch.
If you have a lot of extra floating
that
memory,
matchup,
then it's probably not an issue.
But with all the raccoons running around, I think floating memory is also going to be tough to keep available too. So it's all these damn raccoons running around.
If we're playing a mono raccoon format, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
I'm running 4.
Yep. It's all right. You heard it here first. Mike's got 4 in his deck. All right. Yeah. Solid card though. Like it. We got to deal with this word again. I'm just saying Verican. I like that one. I like that word. It rolls off the tongue. Verican Soul Knife is another SR 0 cost regalia weapon, assassin dagger. It's got all the bonuses.
It's got assassin dagger. I'm in.
It's a 1 power, 1 durability, class bonus, element bonus. You may banish 3 fire element cards from your graveyard to activate this card from your material deck.
Yo,
boom! You don't have to.
It doesn't say to materialize this
right,
card, which means
right.
you can do it outside of materialization phase.
Correct. Yes.
Oh, I like this card a lot.
It's even better as class bonus on kill. Return it to your material deck.
I didn't even finish reading the card. It's so good.
So I got a question about this one when it says element bonus. So first off, you wouldn't be able to play this unless you have fire somewhere in your element anyway. So why?
You
why
can
did
still
you can.
play it. You just wouldn't get that first ability.
You can put any cards in your deck. Doesn't matter. You can put any cards in your deck. There's no restriction to what you can put in your deck list. Okay, but you cannot activate a fire card unless you have a fire spirit. You can't activate it. Okay. You can't activate it. That's really important because we have like Lorraine decks that are playing the Spirit Blade and Soul or whatever, which can let them put out Luxem swords because it's not actually activating them. It's just putting them into play from the material.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a thing that's already happening. So yeah, the element bonus is a thing you also see on the Luxem like reveal cards to stop you from just playing those for free in like any water deck that reveals them or whatever. You have to have that element enabled to be able to get that bonus. So same thing here. So you're only going to put this in a fire deck still, but
yeah.
Outside of a weird thing.
Okay, wait, what? Okay, so that makes sense. Okay.
Yep. But yeah, really cool card. So I think they're really leaning into assassins. Assassins are supposed to assassinate, right? And they've already like some of the effects on the champion cards are already about just like trying to kill tapped units and stuff like that. You can attack tapped champions with those too. So this is giving a little bit more oomph to that idea of like the assassin should be able to control the board. And this allows you to keep returning this weapon to play so you can keep attacking things on board and dealing with them.
Well, okay, I'm walking back my statement. So I was really excited about it, but the more I think about it, the less I like, or the less I care about it. It's cool, and I like its ability, but when I think of the other daggers that since you can only really, especially under fire, unless they add some more stuff, you're only going to be attacking once a turn, because you're
not if you have the ally that can attack with weapons.
Well, yeah, but most assassin decks aren't going to be built around getting him out onto the field. And I think that's actually a class bonus only, and you need to be warrior for it. So he might. I think that might be true. That outside of warrior decks,
maybe it might be it.
The reason why I'm thinking about it is because the other 2 daggers that are currently that we know of are the 2 non-special versions, non-Luxem ones, are both better than this effect already. And this, in order for you to reuse it, like they'd have to be better than that, I guess. And since games are currently pretty short, most of the time you're probably going to want to use Assassin's Ripper way more than this, and you're going to want to use the Curved Dagger more often than not, way more than this.
So hear me out, Jordan. Isn't there a fire card that you can throw a weapon at somebody? For 4 damage?
Yes, there is.
I forgot that card existed.
Yes, there is.
Like
you
the weapon is
throw this weapon 4 times in 1 turn.
Ouch.
Oh man, is that a class bonus effect?
You don't have to. You could. Oh, okay, yeah. Wait, no, that won't go back to your deck though.
Is that a class bonus effect?
Because you aren't attacking.
No, I don't think it is.
The on kill effect only happens if you attack with the dagger. If you
that's,
use that,
that's fair. That's fair. That's right. It's
you're killing with the spell, but
still,
it's still a nice free weapon that then you like. Now you can use that weapon thing more often because you're just like, well, I have at least 1 free weapon that I could just throw onto the field and yeet it at something.
I think, Jordan, you're just underrating though the fact that this doesn't have to take up a materialized phase. By the same logic that the game is fairly short. That means every materialized phase you have, the game can be fairly short. I think again they're trying to slow it down, but I think every materialized phase you have is fairly important. So being able to get a weapon out without having to use up your materialize is actually pretty valuable still.
Yeah.
But I really like that Blazing Throw tech. I think that's really cool. If we're playing Fire Assassin, I am definitely playing Soul Knife and Blazing Throw just to get like extra damage push. And keep in mind too, just being able to get this weapon out to give +1 to like a critical attack like coup de grace or something could be a really important effect to have also. Because that extra damage can compound. And also we play Rending Flames in Assassin because it's also class bonus Assassin. So
yeah. And Rending Flames Assassin Ripper is just like, the game is over. Watch me stab you for 1,000,000 damage.
I think I think this will be a shoe-in for those decks, and I like Blazing Throw in that too. I think that's going to be a pretty clutch little addition also now. Big fan.
And also, yeah, so the Blazing Throw tech, the reason why I really like that specifically is because now that opens that day. Oh no, it's class bonus element bonus. Just kidding. I was gonna be like, now that opens it up for like Rye Fire can randomly just be like, I'm gonna put this dagger in and throw it at someone.
Oh man, I wish Rye could throw knives.
Yeah, but it's assassin only. Also, I guess I like that it's there as well because even if it's not the dagger I'm gonna be reaching for every single game, there might be an assassin later on down the road that will like to grab that every single game.
Yes. Yep, that's very true. We haven't seen the champions. We don't know what else is going to be added, so these kinds of things can also grow in power over time.
And I do really like the art on it. It's really cool looking.
Oh yeah, great. Totally. Jordan, are you ready to have your mind blown?
I am.
Okay, the next thing we're talking about is a new card type in the game, not subtype. This is a new type of card. These cards are called Phantasias. Phantasias are things that come into play and do stuff. More or less. If you're familiar with Magic, they're like enchantments in that way, sort of. And there are a couple of varieties they're showing right away. The first one we're going to look at is called Mark of Fervor. This is a 2-cost Fantasia Tamer spell with ally link, which is effectively enchant creature. This object enters the field linked to target ally. If the link is broken, sacrifice this object. And it says linked ally gets +1 attack, +1 health, and has vigor. So straight up, this card's fine. I guess
it's fine.
It's fine. As a seasoned Magic player, my first instinct with a card like this is it's not great because you put on a thing and then it's gonna die and you lose 2 cards.
Yeah, 2 for 1 is not the best feeling.
So I don't know if this one's gonna go anywhere. It's cool to see the mechanic a little bit. I am looking forward to Phantasias that link that have floating memory, because there I'm starting to get a little more interested. If this thing had floating memory, I'd be like, yep, I'm in. Like, I'm tossing for this.
It would have to have like a class bonus floating memory, I think.
Okay, fine, sure. Yeah, oh no, supporting Tamer.
Right?
Yeah. Okay. I just think it's cool though. They're already adding another card type in set 2.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of ways this card could be used where you could boost an ally.
I think the way this card would be used, if it is, would be through the vigor.
Intercept allies.
Yeah, you want to put it on interceptors.
Yeah. Sylvie level 3 gives everything on her field intercept. So giving the monkey more power and intercept and vigor, meaning he can bash your face in, and then when you swing at him, you're just like, well, you're going to take another 7 damage to the face.
Yeah, give it to the Opus. That's going to be make it an 8/8 Opus, right?
Artificer's Opus, Geo's child. Yeah. Well, so yeah, I don't think the card is super exciting, but it'd be fun to see some people. I think
this card's going to be a draft all-star.
I agree. I think it'll be great in draft. Yep. Where interaction is much harder to come by, and you can get something to really do some damage, put it on a decent intercept creature, and suddenly it's just like dominating the game. Like, that sounds good.
Or you also forget Dream Fairy is a card, and giving that more health, so it's much harder to remove, is going to be pretty sick.
This is a game where there are thresholds of health that are like, the break point between 3 and 4 is ridiculous. It's like if something has 4 toughness, it's like basically unkillable for some decks, and if it has 3, it's like it just dies to whatever. It just kind of depends.
Also, there is 1 or 2 allies in Wind that have the critical ability under Assassins.
Yeah, okay, I like that. I've been looking for more ways to pull the slot machine on the Assassin critical deck. So, yeah, okay, you're selling me a little bit more. I still think it's bad card disadvantage as soon as your opponent, like looks at it, basically, it dies. So
Speaking of cards that are good in draft, these next ones are going to be insane in draft.
I think good in draft, and I think some of these quite good in general. Yes. So let's talk about some other Fantasias. We're going to talk about fractals. This is a subtype
your
of
mind blown, Jordan.
Yeah, this is where it's happening. This is a subtype of Fantasias that come into play and have the ability reservable, which says when paying for a reserve cost, you may rest this object to pay for one of that cost. So these, they're mana rocks.
Foundations and lands.
Yep. They're mana rocks. It's when you're playing cards from hand. It's reserve cost. I want to make that really clear to people. It's not when you're playing cards out of your material deck.
Yes.
So first one we're looking at is Deep Sea Fractal. Yeah, it costs 2. It has Hindered, so it does come into play tapped, basically, enters rested. On enter, each player puts the top card of their deck into their graveyard. I really like that. I like self-mill things for water.
My Milrin deck is getting better.
Water just has some decent floating memory stuff, and just having more ways to just kind of get it in there is great. This can help your opponent as well, but theoretically, it helps your opponent less than it helps you. Depending if they get a floating memory and you don't, you're gonna be like, oh man, that sucks. but yeah, then it has reservable. So it's gonna come and play tapped. It's gonna do a little bit of self mill, and then future turns, you are going to be able to, it's the way that I think, it was best described. I think Sil described it this way in the Discord. It is, it's like having, an effect that then gives you a blank card in your hand for the rest of the game that you're just going to use to pay for costs. I think the important thing to note is that this reduces your influence while keeping your resources the same.
Exactly. And these aren't they're not unique. You can have multiple of these out, I believe, correct?
The ones we've seen so far,
yes. These are going to be staples in every deck.
These are, why wouldn't you run these?
Because of deck space.
I don't agree with that. Yeah, deck space.
It's deck space.
I feel like there's going to be at least a few in every deck, though.
Because you have to think, what you have to think about is that these are not the card you want to draw late in the game at all. You don't want to see them then. You want to see like one, I don't know, maybe two early in the game, and then you never want to see them again. You just, that's it.
I think the third fractal could be one that I see in a lot of decks.
Well, yeah, but with these fractals, the thing is you just use them as, so you see them late game. Great, you use them as memory.
Yeah, but we're talking about deck space here, and we're talking about that could have been a card that advances your win con, and not a card that is just at the point where you're level 3. You want to be playing your stuff to win the game.
That's true.
Yeah. I mean, I appreciate that in Grand Archive. Like I said earlier, anything can be used, to pay for resource costs. But at some point, there's a cutoff where, like, if your deck is just full of all these things where it's like, well, I can just use it as a resource, so it's fine. Then you're just gonna not do anything.
You run into the mono green ramp problem.
Yeah, exactly. You're just drawing rampant growths instead of your big things late game. So that's the natural. I'll stand by my claim that there's going to be at least 4 copies of an fractal, or like they don't have to be the same fractal, but there's going to be at least 4 fractals in every deck.
I agree with Jordan, because if you look at fractal,
I can see that.
Yeah, because we haven't gone over the card yet. But
I don't want that third one in a little bit.
4, but the reason why I think there's going to be at least 4 is because the late game problem you mentioned, Dan. More often than not, you still have to put. If let's say you didn't have the fractals, in order to play those cards, you're going to have to be putting at least 4 cards down on your game-winning turn anyway. So that doesn't affect your game-winning turn, because the other cards in your hand are probably going to be the stuff you need. During the beginning of the game, they make the rest of your plan always go smooth, and the middle of the game, again, they always make it go smooth, and or it's going to help you set up for that big turn later. So I feel like at least 4 copies of one is going to be in every deck.
I want to be really careful about this, because it took me a little bit to correctly wrap my head around this. So these are effectively just the on-enter effect, realistically speaking, because if this were any other card, it would just be sitting in your hand and be possibly playable in the late game, right? And you'd still, every turn you can use that card one time to pay for a cost, right? So it's just a card in hand. So all you're doing is you're getting whatever the on-enter effect is, and then it's like the same thing as if you just kept the card in your hand, except you got that on-enter effect. So I don't know that I would say that these are you gotta play them, right? Because It really depends on how important that on-enter effect is for you. Let's look at some other ones and keep this discussion going.
Yeah.
I see what you mean now. Yeah. Because I'm pulling back a little. Yeah.
But it's weird, right? Because right away I was like, oh my god, it's like an extra card every turn. It's like this is so crazy. And I was like, no, wait, no, I'm being dumb. That's not how this works.
Yeah, it's the same. I guess this reaction I just had is similar to the reaction I had about the woodland squirrels. And then when I played them in our deck, I was like, sometimes playing these are a bad idea because I need them in my hand to pay for stuff right now.
Right. Now, if we had a fractal that like put a 1/1 token into play or something, whew, that'd be sick. There we go. I like it. You like get the dude.
Like the next one we're going to go over, actually, I could see being in a lot of decks.
This one is, I can see, because this effect is quite a bit more useful in interacting with things. It depends. So it depends. But so this is
it's reusable.
Yes. So this is a 4-cost protective fractal, Fantasia Cleric fractal with reservable, and rest this, prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to target champion this turn. So yeah, this is just a nice little, now you have to choose whether you're reserving it or using that effect. Keep that in mind. That is one big difference here between this and the other one. The on-enter effect meant that you just got it and then you got that free resource for the rest of the game. Now this is like every turn you can either have a card in your hand as a resource, or you can like put a card from your hand into memory more or less to prevent 1 damage to something. It's just like, that's the effect you now gain for the rest of the game.
Yeah, because you have to rest
to your champion.
Yeah, that's right, to reserve it.
It's to your champion only too, which I mean, is what you want sometimes, but not always what you want it to be.
I'm not too excited about that one.
All right, I'm excited about them, but know what deck these are going to be really good in? Decks that scale off of influence.
Yes, I think that influence thing is an important thing to note. And another thing, I caught someone on saying this on the Discord. I don't remember who it was. I apologize, but this is an interesting thing to think about too. So currently there's a water card called Water Barrier that is a pretty sweet card, but it has some unfortunate counterplay to it, because it's a card that says the next time damage would be dealt to your champion this turn, prevent all but 1 of that damage. And if your opponent has a way to just ignite the soul you in response or something to, like, okay, I'm going to blank your water barrier. Poison dagger, blank your water barrier, and now my attack goes through or whatever. Protective Fractal actually counters that counterplay, which is kind of cool. You're like, okay, I'll just protect it then. Now my water barrier stops your attack. So yeah, interesting. Or your Arcane Bolt or whatever.
This next one's the one I'm excited about.
The next one is the one I think most people are excited about.
Norm element. I'm already in.
Wait, like this one I'm run. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't run 4 of this.
Okay. Fractal of Insight is a 2-cost Fantasia Mage fractal with reservable, and on enter, you may rest Fractal of Insight. If you do, Glimpse 2. I think this is the best one, easily.
Yeah, like you're running cards in your deck already that glimpse. I think people run like things called Scurry of the Skies, the one where you can look.
Well, Scry of the Skies replaces itself. That's different.
It'll draw a card in memory. So
this card essentially replaces itself because you're paying the 2.
Yes.
And now you get this every turn.
Mm-hmm.
And
it replaces it with a blank card versus the other one gets whatever card you would glimpse into.
Yeah, you're glimpsing too. Like, to me, like, this would replace that card easily. I'd run 4 of this in this deck, no problem.
I wouldn't go that far. I wouldn't go that far because Scry is a massive amount of Scry late in the game.
Yeah,
like also for Scry, it's a spell. So it's a spell, right?
And yes, it's a spell. It triggers Rye. I mean, I wouldn't quite go that far, but I do think Fractal of Insight's quite good. I think getting that Glimpse 2 in certain decks, like decks, again, like decks like Sylvia are even ones that need that Glimpse. Like, I love playing Owl on that deck because I need to find certain cards.
Tamer decks, you have an Owl, which is just this card, but is also a creature and helps push your other stuff.
And the other thing
I think where this card is going to see a lot of real good play is again decks that really want to push the influence thing, because getting the Glimpse when you already have less cards in hand, being able to increase your card quality will be wonderful.
Well, and the other thing that I look at this card too is it essentially only costs 1, because unlike the other ones, this one does not come into play rest.
If it costs
does
1,
if you use the
won't
on-enter.
get the Glimpse.
The on-enter says you may rest Fractal of Insight if you do.
So you won't get the Glimpse, true, if you don't rest it.
Well, then why would you play this card?
Yeah,
if you're not getting,
a 2-mana blank.
then you're just not getting an effect for it.
More for the long game. I mean, again, just essentially.
It does no, Mike. It does the same thing in your hand that it does in play. it does the same thing. It count once per turn. It pays for 1, whether it's in your hand or in play. Once per turn, it pays
Unless
for
you're
1.
an influence deck, but yes.
It's the influence. So the only reason you'd play it and not get the glimpse is if 1, you need the influence, and 2, you need 1 more resource that turn. You need that exact scenario where like, okay, if I play this, my influence will go down by 1, which will then let me play this card and get an important advantage from it. So I'm going to have this come into play, not rested, like the assassin damage spell we talked about or something. But I need that 1 more damage to win the game. So then you would play Fractal of Insight, you would not rest it, and then you would play the assassin damage spell and win the game. Yeah. That's like the only scenario that I can envision where you wouldn't choose to rest it when it comes to play.
Also a note here, the only Fantasias they've spoiled have been common so far. So
yes, true. We could see some unique ones. We could see, I mean, I just love that Fantasias are in here because this is an important new part of the design space that is going to be really good to explore. Things that attach to creatures or allies, ally link cards. These fractals are really cool, and who knows what else they can come up with.
I will say, if they ever print a fractal that has the words, large lightning explosion outside. If they ever
Rise there
has the words draw a card on it, it's instantly going to be at least a 4 of in every deck.
It would have to
depend on the cost.
Then it's just a free memory that you get for the rest of the game.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good.
What I'm curious about is if they'll make ways to interact with these Fantasias.
Yeah,
I think.
Yep.
Because right now, no card would interact with them, right? Because they target units, they target regalia.
If Fantasias are easy to interact with, like everyone's playing like disenchants effectively in their deck. Then that's effectively just like, I guess that just becomes like discard a card to your opponent, which is like a good effect, but like not like mind blowing or anything.
They're using the card to get rid of your card.
Yeah.
Which you usually got the Ion Tree effect anyways.
Yeah. So very exciting though. Exciting design space. Let's move on to so the next we're going to be talking about some of the like product design stuff that they have talked about. There's a number of changes that are happening to like the sets, I guess just how you're getting cards out of the set. It's important to note here, there's, in this article, you'll be able to find the full product sheet where they talk about, how the packs are going to be 8 cards for this. And now this is a small set. Keep this in mind about this. Fractured Crown is a small set. And so they've chosen to adjust the pack numbers to try and, just balance the fact that it's a 90 card set. So
it's literally a third of the size of the first set.
Right. So Fractured Crown has 8 card packs, and they have adjusted things. We're going to use a danger word here. They're short printing cards in Fractured Crown, but it's not as scary as it's not like Yu-Gi-Oh! Short prints or whatever. It's they're taking all material deck cards are showing up 20 to 40% less than other cards.
That's huge.
So you are opening less duplicate copies of those that you don't need, and more duplicate copies of main deck cards which you do need.
You're not gonna have play sets of SR Regalia cards.
Oh god,
yeah, that's huge.
Yep, I think that's awesome.
There's so many SRs and Rs that I got from the first set that are main deck cards that I got like 1 or 0 copies of, but by golly, do I have like 5 extra like glittering orbs and swords and other regalia.
Yep. Yeah. So that means that, and it says 20 to 40% on average. What I assume that means is like common ones are probably the 40% less common. And I would say like maybe up to SRs or something. They've probably printed the like lower end, like 20% less or something, because you still need to be able to like open. There shouldn't be like impossible chase cards to find or anything.
Will these be Tide Diviners?
Yeah. Don't get me started.
The Soul Knife and the Effigy are both going to be like the chase cards because they're impossible to open.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, I assume they're still going to keep those fairly reasonable. And then
if that was the case, I'd prefer that, because having to only buy 1 expensive card is better than having to buy 4 inflatedly expensive because no one has any.
Yes. So let's talk about like an SR that you're going to be getting instead of getting more copies of the material deck cards that you don't necessarily need. We're going to talk about Crawl Stone Scale Tyrant.
Ooh, yeah.
So this is, I apologize, my graphic is covering the toughness on him a little bit, the health on him. He's a 5-cost unique ally, Tamer Beast Dragon. Welcome dragons to the game. They're here.
The best creature type. Let's go dragons.
Yes, he's got 6 attack and 8 health. For 5 costs, note that he does not have pride like many animals and beasts do for Tamer. As an additional cost to activate this card, banish 2 preserved cards from your material deck. If you don't remember what preserve is, it is a mechanic that is on a few Terra cards so far that says that you put the card into your material deck preserved, either as it resolves or leaves the battlefield, depending on the type of card type. And then as you materialize, you may instead return a preserved card to your hand. So the important thing to know about this, you do need to have 2 preserved cards in your material deck to be able to activate them. We don't know what else is going to be in the set that interacts with them, but straight up, like if there's nothing else, I'm starting my deck with 4 Terrasite if I want to play this thing, so I can have ways to get preserved cards into my material deck as consistently as possible. If you get to play him, he is a 6 power, 8 health with Intercept, with Spell Shroud, with True Sight, and with Vigor. He has the Intercept Vigor combo. This is the first card that has both printed on it, which means he attacks for a ton of damage. Then he wakes up at the end of your turn, and then he blocks for a ton of damage. He is Spell Shroud, so he cannot be targeted by spells. Note that skills like Fishing Accident can target him still. And he can attack stealth things because he has True Sight. And when he attacks, you reveal the top 2 cards of your deck and put them into your material deck preserved, which lets you play your next Crawl, Stone Scale's Tyrant, or whatever, or just get... It's like having card access.
What he pays for himself.
Yep. And then next turn when you materialize, maybe you find a good card there that you pop in your hand. Boom. Let's keep going. Keep rolling. So, thoughts?
This card instantly makes Tamer's.
I love it.
Tier 0.
Let's go.
I don't know if we can say that.
Pride just makes
dragons.
It can both attack and defend you, and 4 is a hard break point to get out. 8's impossible without a instant kill thing.
And I mentioned Spell Shroud. That's
but God, it's gonna be a tragic day when he has a fishing accident. Oh.
However, I'm excited about it because there's fishing accident. More importantly, Tristan is gonna be the demon to this character, and the
Dragon Slayer
Trap is gonna be really good against it.
Let's talk about something that we need to talk about right away, which is that the additional cost is to activate him, not to put him into play from your hand.
Yes.
Using a card like Call the Pack, where for each animal ally you control, you may put a beast ally card from your hand onto the field. Boom. For 2 reserve and 1 animal in play, which could be a raccoon, then you call in a Crawl and just start dominating your opponent and getting card value. That's obviously
and a good
really
thing to
dope.
note is once the first Crawl attacks, you can pay for the other ones, no problem.
Yes. Yep. And then you'll have the preserve card. So if they Fishing Accident Crawl, then you just get to play him again. What's the card that lets you put a beast into play and block with it and stuff? What's that one called? I'm trying to remember now.
I don't know Tamer cards very well, Dan. Sorry.
I know. I'm sorry. I should be the one who knows that. Pulling it up here. It is. No, it's not that one. A really good. Here we go. Sorry, Hymn of Gaia's Grace. That's the one. Action, Tamer Skill Melody, Glimpse 3, draw a card. You may put an animal or beast ally card with a reserve cost level or less from your hand onto the field. If you do, you may change the target of an attack that targets your champion to that ally. So Crawl is a new dope beast to put in play. Again, that's another Terra card. So once you get level 3, though, your opponent is not safe. They are not safe.
Just loses the game.
Well, no, that's not true. But they're very unsafe if they're doing anything that attacks you. If they attack you with their Lorraine, then you just go, okay, pay 3, glimpse 3, draw a card, put Crawl into play, intercept, and do 6 damage back to the Lorraine. It's like, oof.
Surprise.
That is powerful. I really like this guy. This is the kind of top end that I think the Tamer Terra cards just haven't quite hit this note yet. Where it's just generically very powerful. This is the Acroma, I feel like, in Grand Archive.
Yeah, I think a lot of the big Terra cards having Pride kind of held them back a little bit.
Yeah, it just not having to do that. Now, if you're doing Hymn of Gaia's Grace, you do need to get to level 5, but level 5 is not that bad to get to if you want to play him that way. Or you can just call it back and just put him out for free. It doesn't matter what level you are. No one cares anymore. Okay, yeah, Crawl's awesome. You know what is even more awesome? CSR Crawl.
CSR Crawl. God, it looks so
yeah.
good.
So this is Crawl Stone Scale Tyrant. Again, same card, but just looks more gorgeous than before. Let's talk real quick about CSRs in the set. So, in first edition Dawn of Ashes, your collector ultra rares were 1 in every 15 boxes. As you all know, if you watched my stream, that isn't always something that you get within 15 or even 18 boxes. Unfortunately, sometimes you get them within one case. You get 6 boxes, you get 1. Some people got up to 3 in one case. Congratulations to those people. Very fortunate of you. Some people, I felt bad for, I think it was Pichu Fan, the guy who made our deck building stuff, link in the description. He had to open 20 something cases, I think, or not cases. Oh my God, 20 something boxes or something to get, or maybe even more. Was he the one who was up to 50? I don't know. Someone had to open a lot of 50, boxes. Yeah. He was the 50. He had to open 50 boxes to get a collector ultra rare. Okay, so really exciting if you open the 3. Not so exciting if you open 50 boxes and don't get one. So here's a major change happening in set 2. Cases are now going up to 18 boxes in a case, which don't panic. Okay. If you were just going to buy 6 boxes, either way, whether it was set 1 or set 2, you were rolling the dice already on getting a collector ultra rare. Okay. It's just like, that's how it was. You can still go to your local. You can still say, I just want to buy 6 boxes like I did last time. And you're going to roll the dice. However, if you're the high roller now, and you want to buy an entire case, what this enables them to do, the fact that they're now 18 boxes in a case, means that they are able to, and the back end, guarantee that in every sealed case, there is at least 1 CSR.
And that's what I like how they said at least.
Correct.
Because if they said you're guaranteed 1, what you would do is you would have people, they would buy the case and they would get the 1, like, done, okay, we're going to take
these boxes.
The thing that
there can be more than 1.
The situation that really sucks about that is not, I'm actually not as worried about the people who just buy and flip, like whatever, like, and that sucks, but like whatever. The thing that sucks is when a store cracks open a case of something and then puts it on the shelf. One person buys a few packs or a box or whatever, opens the chase card that's guaranteed 1 per case. And then everyone in the store is like, well, can you open another case? Or like, I don't want to buy it unless you open another case.
Yeah.
Yep.
That is it's a bad situation for the players. It's a bad situation for the store. It's nobody's happy when that happens, except the one guy who's like, yeah, I got my thing. Whatever, I guess.
Someone's happy at least.
So what this situation means is that now you buy the case, you're going to guarantee get 1. You can still get 2. If a store has the stuff on the shelf and 1 shows up, there could still be a second. There could still be a third. There isn't necessarily a guarantee that there is even only 2, right? So the problem is more or less solved from the perspective of you're not going to get to the point where you buy a million things and you don't get the chase card, but we're also not causing this to be where like one person buys 1 box and then the rest of the case is dead, right? So in addition to that, and we don't have any examples of these, so I'm just going to talk about this right now. They're adding another rarity to the game. Guys, they're adding another rarity. At the bottom of this article, it talks about armaments. Armaments are in addition to the 3 foils, 1 ultra rare, and the collector rare in a case, and your SRs that you're going to be getting everything. Armaments are a subset of cards, 26 card set consisting of common and uncommon regalia from set 1, from Dawn of Ashes, with an exciting new card treatment. Again, we haven't seen it yet. And you get 1 of these roughly every 3 boxes. So if you want to get cool additional cards, fancy versions of commonly played regalia, popular cards from set 1, those are now going to be tossed into every 3 boxes as well. Every case will therefore have 6 of them.
That's nice.
You're telling me I can get an Assassin Ripper with some sick art treatment?
Potentially. We don't know which cards. 26
We're
of
not
them.
sure which cards include yet, but yes.
Oh.
26 of them chase down. It's common and uncommon ones. So yeah, I mean, I think that would fit the bill. So so those are some of the new changes that are happening. I also should mention that these boxes are 20-pack boxes. A little different. So with the 8 card, I guess they did 20-pack boxes too. I don't know how that factors into things. The price is slightly lower for the MSRP as well to kind of match that. So you'll probably see the minimum advertised price will be a little lower, and you'll be able to get the boxes a little cheaper as well, which, considering that the collector ultra rare is kept at the same rarity and these armaments are added and stuff, it's actually probably decent value.
You said there was 26 in the set that they're doing for armaments?
Yes.
That's all of them, baby.
There's only 26 uncommon
nice.
and common regalia.
26 common and uncommon regalia.
Then we know.
So it's going to be all of them.
That's awesome.
Ooh.
That means I have to get 3 armament daggers.
Well, yep, you're going to have to. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about a few more cards and then close this thing out. We're going to talk about Lancelot. We're probably not going to talk about too much because this guy was shown already in the first spoiler of the set we talked about in the previous video about Fractured Crown. Unique ally. We are going to look. Yeah, you know what? I'll go straight to the CSR so you can look at that instead. So, Lancelot, Goliath of Asa. Here's the CSR version of him. He's a 4-cost unique ally guardian warrior human with hindered class bonus level 2+. He gets +2 health. He starts as a 2 attack 3 health. He becomes a 2 attack 5 health, and then he has on attack. You may pay 3 reserve. If you do, Lancelot gets +3 attack until end of turn. That again can be paid for with fractals. That's a new thing to note about that. It's cool. It's just cool to see like reserve costs being on effects. I talked about that a bit in the video. It was nice to see hindered as a keyword. We know that now. I don't know where you're going to play this guy, but he's cool.
I'm going to play him. He's normal element, so he's going into that Lost Spirit deck.
He's going into the Lost Spirit.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying.
Play the norm fractals.
Yeah,
there we go.
Coming out with
Normal
more
fractal?
powerful normal cards. Like, I think this is a really good example. This is a very powerful normal card that you can run in the Lost Spirit deck.
He takes a bit of resources, but he does a lot of damage.
Yes, he does.
So yeah, I'll be interested to see what the deck lists look like that use him. Okay, we're gonna move on. This is the final card we're talking about. Final spoiler for today, everyone.
God, this card's great.
This is Merlin Kingslayer. Okay, the very first thing I have to talk about. Look at that picture. That's not Merlin.
No, that's not Merlin.
Oh, well, that was going to say, that looks like it's just Lorraine. That's not...
Yes.
So there is something very interesting happening in the story, is what we get from this. Merlin is a memory thief, as we know. So what is going on? Did Merlin steal Lorraine's memories and use magic to become her or something? Is she using her magic right now to have erased everyone's memories of Lorraine and like take her place effectively or something? Like, what is going on? Okay,
Because
go for it.
what are the level 3 Lorraine's called? One's called Lorraine's Spirit Ruler, right?
Yes.
Maybe she's just taking Lorraine's place.
Merlin is possessing her. And the reason why is because if you look at the card behind the card box, you know how unlike the higher foils, they'll have the emblem of whatever the character is. Notice how there's 2 emblems?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, you can see her type line. She's a mage warrior human.
Oh, I didn't notice she was a mage warrior.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't even talked about the card effect yet.
The symbol for Lorraine and the symbol for Merlin there.
I'm stoked to know about the story, what's going on here. But let's talk about the card. This is level 3 Merlin. This is our first time seeing a lineage break champion get a level 3. We don't know if the other ones will get them in this set, but we do know Merlin does.
Tristan.
I know Jordan wants Tristan so bad.
A 6 CSR Tristan.
This has Merlin lineage, of course, and at the beginning of your recollection phase, put a level counter on Merlin, which if you keep in mind, that's what level 2 Merlin already does when she banishes floating memory cards. She gets level counters, so this adds on to that. Then, if there's an even amount of level counters on Merlin, draw a card, and Merlin's attacks get +2 +2 damage until end of turn, +2 attack, whatever. She has 28 health, so which is on par with level 3 Lorraine. So yeah, this is a fascinating card. Now, when you start thinking about this, she's Crux Element. This is a Crux Element Mage Warrior human. You can play this off of a Rye deck. You can play this off a Lorraine deck. Well, I mean, you could play this off a Sylvie or Xander deck. Actually, it doesn't really matter if you want to. But I think a lot of people will be looking at either doing a Rye thing and using this Merlin as a way to get, keep the levels up and get the draw cards, but then you don't get to do Arcane. So you have to do some other way to win the game that doesn't use Arcane. Now, we haven't seen what her Crux cards are in this. We haven't seen any. There could be new Crux Mage cards that enable something like that. You can also use this Merlin as a replacement for like a Lorraine level 3 and take advantage of the fact that you have a higher level and use some of those efficiency cards that are floating around in like wind and stuff to be more powerful for her while still getting an attack bonus. I'm fascinated to see what other Crux cards come out that really kind of enable this deck, but I'm mostly excited about the fact that we're already seeing crazy mix-ups happening in our level 3 champions.
For sure.
We're seeing level 2 lineage break ones getting new level 3s. We're getting dual class champions. She can run both mage and warrior class bonus cards. When you get to her at level 3, you can get the advantage of running mage class bonus and warrior class bonus cards at the same time. There's a potential here, and I don't think we've really tapped any of it yet. Digging into the card list and seeing what other cards come out, it's going to be fascinating.
Yeah, like I was already looking at some of the win cards, and then like the one where you can de-level your champion and then like go into different levels, and like, wow, is all I got to say. This Merlin card is crazy.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, the art's amazing. The storyline idea is very cool. The effect's very interesting. She can definitely stack. I mean, like the cool thing too is you're playing Merlin. I thought that my opinion on Merlin was that the biggest flaw was that she didn't really she was kind of slow and just, she had a cool effect, like banishing cards from your opponent's discard pile. Obviously awesome, or yours. Banishing floating memory cards, even better. You get a bonus when you do that with her. Like that's what you want to do anyway. So she's got built-in kind of control of the graveyard, but doesn't close the game really after that. Just, you don't get to do the cool arcane stuff with the high level. You just get a high level and you like fireball your opponent or something. This gives you a new payoff, an interesting new potential payoff, depending on what Crux cards exist, but then uses those level counters, will still have that high level. I mean, straight up, Alter Edition comes out next week as of releasing this. And Merlin CSR stocks just skyrocketed.
Oh,
seriously.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And not just that, another great thing that you might not have realized at first. This is going to be the greatest sudden steal user in the entire game.
Ooh, nice.
0 cost sudden steal for 5 damage.
Yeah. Or 7 damage if you have even level counters.
Huh?
7 damage if you have even level counters.
Oh, yeah. 7 damage for a free attack seems pretty good, and that's not counting if you use a weapon.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Which, as a warrior, you have access to a lot more weapons.
There's a lot of good Crux weapons.
Yeah, it's a fascinating card. Super, super stoked about this. And we can look at let me make this very clear. We're going to look at the CSRs of this character. There are 2. Here's the first one. Same card, but it just has the extended art, a little wider, looks beautiful. Hori signature on it, as you'd expect. And here is the second one, which has her crystalline magic effect all over it as well. I'm really curious now in the overlay, if you guys watching this, we've seen this art that they've just been using to kind of advertise the game, this key art for it, basically, of this key art has new context now. It's a picture of Lorraine controlling a dragon, it looks like, or something, with Merlin's magic. Like now it's very clear what's going on. That's not Lorraine, right? That's Merlin as Lorraine mind controlling the dragon or something, maybe. Merlin's magic is this pink crystalline thing, which you see in the Fractured Crown logo and everything. why is the crown fractured with Merlin's magic? Well, now we understand. Merlin has apparently
killed the king,
usurped the king of Avalon or whatever.
Hashtag Merlin is a mesmer.
Yeah, basically. So, yeah, beautiful. Now, we did get confirmation in the Discord that these two CSRs combined are... So let me split this up. So every CSR is going to be in the same quantity in the set, except Merlin's are basically halved to be between the two versions of Merlin level 3. So if there were 100 of the Dragon CSR, there's 50 of the first Merlin and 50 of the second Merlin. So you have the same odds of pulling a Merlin as you do any other CSR, but you have then a 50-50 shot depending on which art you got. So you're not going to get twice as many Merlins as you would another one.
That's the way to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And it makes it very exciting if you get a Merlin. Which Merlin did you get? I think that's super cool too.
Yeah.
I'm pumped. I'm pumped about
that. I can't tell which one I like better. Both the arts are great.
They both.
Yeah, I want to see them actually physically see them and then kind of make the judgment call.
Yeah, like for the CSRs or the CURs, they always had the brushed on textured foils, and I want to see
how
these
they
ones.
look. Yeah.
Yeah. Keep in mind they individually do unique textures for every single CSR. So I assume that would mean they've individually done unique textures for both versions of Merlin as well.
Yes.
Here.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, I just can't wait to. I would love to hold a CSR from a pack in my hand. Personally, I haven't gotten that opportunity yet. I mean, I have my Banner Knight. I like my Banner Knight. So at least I have that. That keeps me warm at night. But hopefully, I'll be lucky enough to hold like a Merlin or something starting in set 2. So, guys, did I miss anything? Is that everything?
Yeah, I think that covers pretty everything. Yeah.
Yeah, just a couple of things to talk about. Pretty quick video for you guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, over a morning coffee or something. Yeah, it went a little long, but I mean, there's so much to talk about. This was the most exciting news I feel like we've had all year just for Grand Archive. Just this, it's just a deluge of information showing I can't get over the fact I've been saying this since 2021, honestly, that this company is listening. They're listening and they're making good moves constantly. We can see this going into set 2. They're already adjusting things based on player feedback in a very smart manner, a very clever manner. They're adjusting the gameplay to be more accessible. They're adjusting the product to feel better when you're opening things. And now we've seen from these cards that they're introducing very intriguing new mechanics right away in set 2. I hope you guys are as pumped about Grand Archive as we are. Who's pumped? Who's pumped about Grand Archive?
I am so pumped for this game. I don't think I've seen the developers make anything that I would call a mistake yet. They've been knocking them out of the park.
They're doing a fantastic job. So that's why we fully support them here. We're loving it. If you guys are enjoying this content, I would love to hear it. Just go ahead and drop in the comments below. If you made it to the end of the video, please let me know.
You trekked hard to this one.
I'm proud of you.
Yes, you did.
I'm proud of you making it to the end of this one. And make sure you give the video a like. Help us in the algorithm. Help us spread the word of Grand Archive a little bit more. We want to see you guys in Ascent, by the way. This whole team, everyone you're looking at here, we're all going to be at Ascent, and we want to meet you. If you're there, come say hi. Say, hey, you're main deck guy. What's up? I want to talk to you. I'd love to talk to people. I can't wait. I'm super excited to see everyone there. We're all going to be gunning for VIP spots, but there's not too many of them. So we're excited to see who gets in and who doesn't. So yeah, hopefully we'll all get there. But yeah, we were 100% going to be at Ascent, and I cannot wait. Grand Archive, super great game, super fun stuff. And that is our thoughts on the first spoilers here. We'll probably see more videos like this as more are revealed as well. Just get the whole gang together and talk about them, because I had a lot of fun with this today.
We'll try and tone down the next one's time, but
yeah,
we had a lot to talk about though, because this is all the big announcements. So yeah,
sure.
But I agree. All right, you guys, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching another Main Deck video. Main Deck is sponsored by JW Sports Cards and Gaming. Visit jwwcards.com and by our amazing patrons. Get exclusive content and other cool perks on the Main Deck Patreon. And hey, while you're here, I bet you'd like one of these videos. go ahead, click one. I know you're going to love it.